I am who I'm meant to be. I am who I'm meant to be. Over and out again. My future needed clarity, so I could see how you react, how you'd react to me.
Sacrificing stuff for them, you know. But and then it turns out that they don't give a damn about it. So it's just like ticking boxes. I mean, in general, I'm sure there's a lot of government people that do care, and the scientists and the medical people, they do care. But yeah, it's just that it always takes that one that just, you know, makes you roll your eyes and think, oh God, these are the people in charge. Because there's the Scottish deputy chief advisor or something. She broke lockdown, and so it's not just one person. There's been a few like this, and then these are just the ones that are reported. Obviously, 10 Downing Street have denied and said it was essential travel for him, but the advice was if you had symptoms, you stay at home 14 days with the rest of your family. So I don't know what part of that means you can travel 250 miles to see your elderly parents.
Oh, no, absolutely.
And perhaps pass the symptoms onto them, the virus.
Mental. Yeah, absolutely mental. Ridiculous as well. Definitely something that I hope they address in the future, if not anything else.
Unfortunately, media kind of forgets about some of these things in 3 or 4 days. I'm assuming this will just go under the carpet. You know, what a shame. Let's move on.
Oh, it happened, but we can't do anything about it, so let's move on. Boris, where's that bus again? You know, the bus with 350 million for the NHS? Oh, it's happened. Let's move on.
We are holier now.
I think I got some statistics here, because when I watched the update yesterday, I actually saw the slides. It says 90% of adults are avoiding contact with vulnerable people, which is great for the UK. The statistics of positivity. It's a bit more positivity since we talked about Boris and Trump. 96% of adults said they had tried to stay at least 2 meters away from each other, but I don't know. I think that one's kind of hit or miss. I think people are saying they're doing it, but I think that one's sort of, I've seen more people close together than I have separated and apart. So 86% of adults that left their home, the most common reasons were shopping for basic necessities and exercise. Although I am seeing a lot more people in Wales now walking around, even though that's not something they improved on. I think people are just getting fed up. I think it comes back to that thing, doesn't it? It's like people can't be bothered to listen to anymore. The mixed signals and stuff are getting annoying. So they're just kind of gone, well, I'm fine. I have no symptoms, sod it.
Yeah, it's that kind of British thing where, like, we'll stick with it for a few weeks, like, oh yes, we'll pull together and get through this together. And then when the hype wears off, you're like,
yeah, absolutely.
Maybe I'll just, flout the rules, because,
Yeah, no, absolutely. And apparently, the lowest figure, though, is 41% of employed adults worked from home compared to around 12% last year. So, kind of about what they sort of suspected would be the amount of people, because people have lost jobs, sadly, and stuff in this as well. So
I think that'll be an important factor moving forward. Like, it turns out you can do a lot of the stuff at home rather than in a workplace where the only thing that's missing there is like just socializing with your colleagues. I suppose, but I don't know. I'd be interested to see how productive people are being at home rather than the office, or maybe they're more productive at home. You don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Absolutely. Definitely. Any more about the lockdown?
There's a little bit more. It's not totally to do with not lockdown, but obviously this is a two-sided one, positive or negative. You could see it as both.
Okay.
You might think it's like, to start with, but Tom Moore, he had a knighthood.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Recently, which is a very good thing. He's a
congrats
great man. He's great morals. I'm sure he's totally amazing.
Absolutely.
Then again, could it be a massive distraction from what is going on in the government right now? I know it's because that British thing again, which I was talking about. Like, we all need a figure to pull through together. We love to kind of make ourselves feel good, like the Churchillian way of being patriotic and
absolutely. I think
spirit.
I definitely think it's a beautiful thing, and I think he absolutely deserves to be knighted, especially the fact he got the promotion and he's done so much at such an age. I'll be honest, I think maybe a little bit it's being pushed quite heavily to try and distract from kind of Boris and his team sort of fumbling
it seems like
a bit.
They're really focusing on this guy. Like, it's Yeah, I'm not doubting the fact that he's done amazing things like in the past few weeks, but
Absolutely.
really,
Yeah, no, I think
so
it's
much
definitely
attention.
it's something that doesn't need as much attention as they're giving it. Um, and I think they've definitely done that on purpose, to
Yeah,
try and keep people. Oh well, look, if you look over here, it's nice, beautiful things
yeah.
happening, and absolutely, I would agree with that.
Everyone give
Yeah,
yourself a pat on the back.
yeah, exactly. And then, just ignore the shit that we keep doing wrong,
Yeah,
and our cabinet ministers aren't listening to their own rules and things.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I think it's a very good thing that it's being focused on, but I think they do need to try. I think in the next couple of weeks to start pushing the actual main focus of if you want to start opening the country back up, you need to be 100% transparent. You can't keep trying
yeah.
to distract us. There has to be, because otherwise something could happen, another spike could happen, and because you've been distracting people, people aren't going to notice it, and then it's going to get worse and worse and worse. So I definitely think they need to sort of balance it a bit better, maybe. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely don't do stuff like that, because that stuff is important, and I think it needs to be recognised. But absolutely there needs to be a balance of good and bad. Just as
yeah,
we do when
definitely.
we talk about stuff. There's good things, but there's bad things too. You have to
Oh
acknowledge
yes.
both. You can't ignore one side just because a preference over the other. It just doesn't work.
Well, that's the beauty of a good diverse conversation, isn't
Yes, yes, absolutely.
it? We'll pull through this together.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Um, yeah. Anything else? 'Cause I haven't got anything. I'll be honest, for the lockdown. Other than the
Yeah,
stuff I
can't
had.
afford to
So
talk about it now.
it's one of those things I think that's kind of drained us a bit, and I think it's nice to have that update. But then moving on
Yeah,
from it quickly is better than staying with it.
yeah. Well, I think I've covered all I wanted to cover in that one,
Okay, so with
so
the
we can
lockdown
move on.
over, yeah, absolutely. With the lockdown over, we'll go to games. Dun, 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 dun.
Games.
Yeah, so with regards to games, I finished The Walking Dead, the final season, which was emotional. Wouldn't be the word. I was a broken man for a while. I don't know. Have you have
Clever.
you have you? I mean, you've played through the games, right? Or
Not finished the final season, but
Hmm.
I've played through most of them.
Yeah. What was your kind of opinion on that series? Because obviously Telltale famously closed because they bought too many IPs and got greedy. Uh,
Yeah, which we covered last week, didn't we?
yeah,
Um,
absolutely,
I think that it's the pinnacle of the Telltale games, really, the
yeah,
best ones, in my
definitely.
opinion.
Oh no, I,
Uh,
I agree.
it's kind of what people think of when they think of Telltale games as well. That certain one. It's struck a chord with everyone. I've seen millions of reaction videos to the season one, and like
Yeah,
it was really kind of iconic.
it was.
Um, and it's kind of maintains that good level of drama
Yeah,
throughout its
tension.
seasons. Good storytelling and kind of narrative driven.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so obviously you've played the final season. Did it end well? Did it keep up that?
Um, I mean, unfortunately, with the final season, for obviously those who don't know, it was a troubled development. Obviously, Telltale did the first two episodes and then they sort of crashed out. They basically had no money. They got shut down. So Skybound took over. I believe they had an episode taken away. I did do a bit of research. I couldn't find anything, but I'm fairly certain they did. There was meant to be five. There's only four.
Yeah,
Um,
seemed like a shorter season.
Skybound did a good job, man. I think they pulled off the ending really well. I'm not going to spoil anything, just in case. I definitely recommend people go play it for themselves if they haven't. Um, Especially if you love the franchise, it'll definitely hit a few chords.
Yeah,
But yeah, no, definitely a very good season. There were some kind of discrepancies and kind of things that contradicted stuff that had happened like in the first season and stuff, which kind of, I don't know, took me out of it a bit. But I completely understood why they did them, because it made that drama, it made it more exciting. But yeah, definitely a fun game, good writing. AJ's a bit of an asshole. I'll be honest. He definitely was probably my least favorite character, even though he's one of the pinnacle ones that you have to care about, because obviously it's Clem looking after him.
mm,
Um, but he was definitely the one that seemed to have been written in such a way that he came across like a villain for a lot of it. and you're meant to be teaching him. So it's, you know, they kind of pulled it off in the end. I think Skybound kind of saved it, but Telltale really messed up on the beginning of the season. But the last episode saved it dramatically.
So did Skybound take over the writing of this season, or was it kind of planned from the beginning?
I think they actually did change because they had to take off an episode and stuff was just so jumbled after Telltale. I think they did rewrite a few things and change a few things, and I think you can definitely tell that the first 2 episodes were done by Telltale, and then when you do the last 2, there's a huge contrast in Skybound and how they made their games compared to Telltale. You could definitely tell by the end of it, Telltale kind of just were pushing them out just for, you know, they couldn't be asked anymore, but
yeah,
Skybound definitely really made it unique for those last 2 episodes and managed to pull it and save the season. So
yeah, that's good though. Good that it did that. It's kind of unheard of that another company just takes over like that.
Oh yeah, I think it was just so popular that people were like, it needed to be finished.
Yeah,
and I think
I'm sure they will have benefited from it as well.
Oh, they would have got a lot for it. And I don't even think they Telltale sold their IPs for that much. I think they could have easily have sold the Walking Dead IP for a fuck ton, but I don't think they could. I think they were in such a position they were just kind of like just take it. Yeah. We can't afford it anymore. So yeah, no, that was very, very good. Very good game, very good ending. But hopefully, if they do games like that in the future, another company will do it and change it up a bit, make the formula a bit different. Anything for gaming on you?
Well, obviously a new game is released, which I've been quite interested in. I've not purchased it, but it's called Maneater.
No, I did. I actually managed to play this for a bit before I ended up coming to Vix. So, good game.
It's an open world shark PG.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's definitely. I haven't played a lot of it. I've played about the first 2 hours, but it's definitely an interesting play. I don't know if you remember. Do you remember the Jaws game that came out way back when on PS2? It's a much more refined and better version of that essentially.
Okay.
But it's open world. You can go wherever you want, but there's like a leveling system, and you have to be a certain age and a certain size and a level and whatnot to fight certain animals. It's interesting.
Yeah, it really looks interesting. I've never heard anything kind of like it. Like it before.
I would definitely say wait for it to go on sale, mind. But that's just my opinion. I got it. I didn't know it was coming out on PlayStation, so I ended up getting it on the Xbox. Which was slightly annoying, but no, it's fun. It's definitely a game I think I'd probably play more so to switch off and just kind of roam around as a
Who doesn't want to be a man-eating shark?
Yeah.
Roaming around eating beachgoers and there's like boss battles and all sorts, isn't there?
Yeah, I've only encountered humans very, very briefly in the first 2 hours, because a lot of the first 2 hours has been heavily sort of a very grindy experience on getting bigger and eating smaller fish and finding a big thing about it is collectibles, finding like these little crates and stuff which help level you up a lot quicker. You can sort of upgrade your shark, so you can have different abilities like sonar and stuff. It is very, very interesting. Well, I mean, do you reckon you'll get it at some point?
It's a wait for sale one, I think. I'm not sure how repetitive it'll end up being at the end. I've heard it's like a 20-hour campaign or something, and just have kind of interesting story elements of this kind of shark hunter.
Yeah, it's very
kills you.
The shark hunter is very stereotypical.
At least it has a story.
Oh, absolutely.
Interesting how they've done it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely it's cheesy as fuck, but it's a good thing that it's like that. I think if they tried to make it too serious, it would have definitely failed. But
I've always loved sharks and shark films, and I always watched all the documentaries, all the really lame shark films, and two-headed shark attacks, all stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think me and my sister used to always watch these really rubbish films, but we just like sharks. So I think playing as a shark in an open world shark PG.
Shark, I love that shark PG.
That's great. Would be a dream of ours when we were younger, but looking at the realistic facts, probably wait for a sale on that.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely got potential to be entertaining, and it'll keep you busy for a while. It's definitely a game to pump hours into, but I think from the first 2 hours, it's definitely a very repetitive streak that I've noticed. But then again, I'm only in the first part of the game, so I haven't experienced enough to kind of be like, oh, that's the game, or it's not.
Fair enough. This week has been quite a big one for remasters.
Yeah, I was actually. This is another thing I've got on my list actually, talking about remasters. So literally, The Walking Dead. Then I had Talk Man-Eater, and then talking about remasters.
Yeah.
Do we have the same ideas?
I think we do. That's why we do the podcast together.
Yeah, exactly.
So obviously, there's been the Mafia 2 remaster, and the Mafia trilogy is getting kind of a remaster, or it's kind of complicated with that one.
I actually was quite pissed off when I saw that. I'm not going to lie, because and I'll tell you for why. I was really excited about the remaster for Mafia. I've played through number 2, I've played through number 3. I love both those games, and I own number 1, but I own it on the original Xbox. And when I tried to play it, the disc wouldn't work, so I was like, shit. And instead of me getting it, I was about to get it on computer and then PC, and then I found out that they were doing the remaster. And then when it came out, it's not a trilogy. The first one's not coming out till August. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I'm not paying fucking 50 quid for 2 games, and I have to wait for 3 months for another one. Like, no. Like, why release something like that if they're not already? Yeah. I don't get it.
I mean, I haven't played the first 2, but I've started playing the third one because it was a PS Plus game not too long ago. And that's obviously been upgraded to Definitive Edition, where you get all the DLC for free now.
Oh, yeah.
Which is quite good. But I've played... The story seems quite good so far. I've not played too much of it, about an hour or 2. Yeah. I've heard reports of it being quite repetitive, though. The gameplay elements of the third one.
It's a classic open world, kind of, oh, there's some side stuff, oh, you can do this. Yeah. It is good, though. I found the story to be quite compelling and definitely an interesting take on the Mafia series.
Yeah, interesting kind of race elements in there as well.
Yeah, that's something I did like about that game, is they weren't scared to kind of tackle those issues.
Yeah, there's like a warning at the start, like, we are trying to be realistic, so we're using terms that they would use at the time anyway. I think it's set in the 60s or 70s.
Yeah, just came back after the war.
Lots of kind of civil rights kind of stuff, and
definitely. Mafia 3 is a very good one. Mafia 2 even better. I think Mafia 2 is better. Mafia 2 had some issues with it, mine, so I hope they kind of iron them out, and I'm excited for Mafia 1.
Yeah.
But I definitely think they maybe should have waited. Because I think it's definitely going to make them lose a lot of potential sales they could have had.
I think they've kind of just pushed it out like, oh, let's give them something, and may have kind of rushed the remaster of Mafia 2.
Yeah, I haven't heard much about it, but from what I have heard, people were a bit, I think, deflated by apparently how it looks, and
apparently it looks worse than on the previous generation of consoles.
Yeah.
And there's some audio issues or something where the dialogue only plays out of one ear and stuff like that.
Oh Lord.
It's got some stuff that needs to be worked on, I think. So it feels a bit rushed, especially when compared to other remasters that may have come out this week.
Oh, absolutely. I was actually going to ask, before we talk about some of those remasters, because I have a funny feeling I might know a few of these. When it comes to remasters and stuff, do you think they're a cheap cash grab, or do you think they're a good idea for people that maybe haven't played those games in the past and now get an opportunity to play a somewhat, better version of those games?
Yeah. As long as it's kind of justified, like maybe include all the previous DLC and have it a good quality remaster, like better graphics, kind of more smooth frame rate, whatever.
Yeah.
And as long as a good amount of time has passed since the original, then I suppose it's a good way of kind of bringing them forward a generation.
Yeah.
Of course, there are exceptions apart with like possibly Mafia 2 and stuff.
Yeah.
Like some of them seem a bit rushed.
I think with Mafia 1 there have been screenshots and it looks incredible, but it's just whether I think a lot of their time has gone on to Mafia 1 clearly, and they've kind of just done a rush job. I mean, I can't imagine.
Mafia 1 is kind of a remake, isn't it?
Yeah, I can't imagine with Mafia 3 there's much that's changed. I mean, that game came out on PS4, so
they've just upgraded it to Definitive Edition and kind of made it HDR or something.
Yeah, so it's slightly better graphics and
slightly better, but apparently people are seeing issues with that. I haven't seen any, but
Mafia 3 did have a lot of issues when it released as well. So, I mean, as long as it's I don't see a problem. I think pricing it at 25 quid is a bit of a piss take. But if it's nice that if you own the game, they've kind of just transferred it over.
Yeah. Good. A little bit of generosity goes a long way with these things.
Absolutely. any other remaster stuff that you'd seen?
Well, also that came out this week is Saints Row 3 remaster.
I am super excited about that. Very, very excited.
Apparently, that's getting a lot of high praise from a lot of critics.
It was the best Saints Row game in my opinion as well.
Yeah, I remember playing that one. I think it was better than the fourth one anyway.
Yeah.
A lot of people say the second one was good as well.
Yeah, the second one was definitely good, but the third one for me was the best, and then the fourth one kind of took a step back. But it was still good, but it just didn't have the same feel and enjoyment.
Yeah. But the actual remaster is apparently good quality as well. Like they've improved the particle effects, the graphics. It looks like a current gen game now. I mean, it never actually graphically it was never like a top of the bar, but it still always was a good game. And graphics aren't everything when it comes to these things.
Yeah, I think that's the thing people focus on most. But I think if a game runs really well and it still looks a bit better, then that's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Was there any other remasters that came out?
I'm just having a look now.
Recent ones.
Really?
Something that annoyed me was kind of like they released different kind of versions of games from like PS3 to PS4, like Last of Us and Last of Us Remastered. I mean, it's kind of minimal improvements. It's kind of like that feels like a bit of a cash in when they release it at the end of a lifeline.
Yeah, I think it's tricky especially when it comes to remasters. I think a company really needs to think about them before they do them, because what you have to look at is it worth remastering the game? So how long's the game been out for? Is it worth upgrading the graphics, and are they going to get enough praise for being upgraded, rather than it just looks the same, it's just and it runs like ass. That's the last thing you want for a remaster, especially
I think it's especially when there's different development teams working on it than the original one. There's maybe some complications with that.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Another remaster, obviously, but a remaster that did get a lot of praise, admittedly, was the Final Fantasy remake. For someone that I haven't played the Final Fantasy games, so I've got them all, just haven't played them.
Okay.
But the game definitely looks highly better and much more polished and stuff. That's how you do a remaster,
Yeah.
And then you got something on the other spectrum like Resident Evil 3, which was not praised. Was pretty much hated by every Resident Evil fan out there. I don't know if you've kind of had an opinion on either of them, or kind of anything that sort of through them.
I remember seeing some of the advertising material for 3, and that looked quite good. It looks like I saw some of the cinematics. Have they changed it anyway, or is it just kind of like
the game's much shorter? Apparently, it's about 4 to 5 hours now compared to what it was before. It was a short game anyway, but they've made it shorter supposedly. So I can only imagine.
How's that possible?
Yeah, I mean, Christ, a 4 to 5 hour game that you're paying nearly £50 for. I mean, that's kind of, I think, where people start drawing the lines, because it's not made for length then, or replayability.
Yeah.
Although they, apparently the Resident Evil games are very replayable. I think once you've done them once, I think, especially in the past, if you've done a lot of them, they're probably slightly different to do now.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's these one and done kind of, I don't know, experiences that are not quite as value for money as some other experience, maybe. Yeah.
Aha.
But yeah.
I'm making my face bigger. So that it's not just like you on the screen. Like for the entire thing, it's just been like you main screen and then just me tiny. I'm like, that's not fair on Sean. So.
Well, I don't mind being the poster boy.
Beard.
Yeah. Yeah. Any film? Did you want to move on from games? Or
yeah. No, absolutely. I know that today's obviously a bit shorter as well, because obviously you've got some plans because you're up in England.
Yeah.
So
I can actually go out and meet some people now.
I know. Lucky. I think the only film that I've watched this week was The First Planet. So the newest trilogy, I've watched the first film finally of that. I was going to get through the second and the third one as well, hopefully now this week at some point. But fairly good. I enjoyed it. James Franco pulled it off. He did a good job. I know Woody Harrelson's the bad guy for the third one, so more so excited, I think, to see that one. But
Okay.
it definitely it's held up well. The CGI and stuff in the first film, I think, came back out in 2014. It's definitely held up over 6 years. You know, it looks just as
Yeah.
good and it runs just as well.
Sorry, which films are we talking about here?
Planet of the
I missed the
Apes.
first.
Planet of the
Planet.
Apes.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, Planet of the Apes. Yes.
So I know, I believe you've seen all of them, right?
Yeah. I may have missed some of the originals. I think I watched the original, but you know.
I'll be honest, I haven't watched the originals or anything like that. I'm just I've stuck with the newest trilogy. So,
Yeah. Well, they are intended for the current audiences, so
Exactly.
I don't know. People get a bit salty when you haven't seen the original things, but I think there's a reason these things are made. You know,
Yeah, exactly.
for the current audience.
Exactly. But what was kind of your opinion on? Well, from what you can remember of the first one, I have no idea when the last time you might have watched it or something.
I thought it was a decent film. Was kind of the guy who plays Draco Malfoy? He's in it?
Yeah. That surprised me. I forgot he was like a bad guy in it.
Yeah, always going to be the villain in everything he does. I think.
Yeah. He hasn't done much
yeah.
though anymore. I don't think.
No. Yeah, I think given up on the acting.
Yeah.
Harry Potter takes it out of you.
He was like, I can't do this shit anymore. I'm out.
Avada Kedavra. But yeah, I thought it was a decent film, a decent flick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's tricky. It's been a long time since you watched them, I imagine.
Yeah. The acting was all good, and the story was good, and I did kind of, the CGI was really good, and kind of feeling for the apes, and they put a lot of work into the facial animations and stuff.
Andy playing the actual Caesar, you know, ape and moving around like him and acting like him. I definitely think that brought a bit more reality to it. Although I can imagine trying to act like on set against Andy as he's playing Caesar would be quite hard.
He's used to kind of playing different creatures and stuff, and he played Gollum as well.
Yeah, he plays Snoke as well. That was like a big part that he took on in Star Wars to do that. We all know how I felt about those films. But yeah, no.
Change the subject quick.
Yeah, no. But that unfortunately is pretty much the only film that I actually watched this week. You know, I was getting a lot of stuff done videos wise and planning for like this and everything, so I was slightly behind on that kind of stuff. But,
stay tuned for YouTube on YouTube for a lot of
plenty of shit going up on there, but hopefully now within the next week I'll have a bit more to talk about and stuff.
I haven't actually watched many films this week. I don't think I've watched any, to be honest.
No. Nothing.
Oops.
Oh no. So
Caesar is home.
Caesar is home. God, when he speaks, it's dramatic.
I watched, and I've started a new Netflix series, Dead to Me. It's quite good.
Oh, did you finish Upload then?
Yes, finished Upload.
What was your opinion on it and stuff?
It was good. It's a different series, kind of light-hearted and comedic in aspects and stuff.
I was gonna say I got a lot of comedy from the trailer.
Yeah, I thought there's enough balance of drama, comedy, and kind of emotional things. It wasn't like pure gripping. It's more like something you just kind of watch to turn your brain off a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's not gritty or anything. It's kind of out there in your face, but it is good. I enjoyed it.
It's in your face. It's going straight.
And it's only like 10 episodes, 30 minutes each, so it's really not too long either. You know.
Yeah.
You don't have to fully commit.
Oh, which is always nice.
But yeah, it's definitely left on a cliffhanger. There's going to be a season 2 of it.
Ooh, okay.
I'll have to get another free trial of Prime.
I'll definitely have to have a look into that one. Definitely. Right. Is that the films and stuff done now and out of the way as well?
Oh god, I think so.
Yeah, right. Okay. Well, we're on to the last section, the conspiracy theory for this week, which was very kindly put in by Robin. Obviously, the conspiracy theory she brought up was the Black Knight satellite. Now, I have done my research on this. And I have done a lot of research on this. I spent quite a few hours last night actually watching documentaries and things on it, because I actually didn't know about this one, so I was quite fascinated by it. I won't give you my opinion yet because I want to read out the wiki for it, and obviously as always the wiki will be linked down below if anyone wants to go and have a quick look ganders. But if I get the wiki up for it now, it's definitely one I think you'll be on the same wavelength as me of how you feel about it, I think.
Okay.
Right, here we go. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Right, here we go. So I'll read through this and like each section like I did before. There's only two. There's the introduction and then the history.
Okay.
So I'll read through the introduction and then we'll go like we did before. So the Black Knight satellite conspiracy theory claims that there is a spacecraft in near polar orbit of the Earth that is an extraterrestrial origin, and that NASA is engaged in a cover-up regarding its existence and origin. This conspiracy theory combines several unrelated stories into one narrative. A photo taken during the STS-88 mission claimed by someone to show the Black Knight satellite is catalogued by NASA as a photo of the space debris, and space journalist James Oberg considers it as probable debris of a thermal blanket confirmed as lost during one of the biggest missions they had. Now I'll send you the photo through so you can sort of gander at it, and then we'll have a quick talk about that. But hearing that kind of stuff, what's kind of your...
I would love that to be true.
it's something new.
I love all that kind of sci-fi stuff. The some kind of alien spaceship that's a big cover-up that they're kind of investigating would be awesome. Ooh.
So there's the photo of it, right? That's probably the most clear photo you get. Now there are other photos of this this so-called satellite that is up in space.
I mean, I'm not an expert on what debris looks like, but that doesn't look like debris to me.
But they also we'll get into the history now, and then we'll get into the final little bit. So that photo is the 1998 NASA photo of the space debris, an object believed by some conspiracy theorists to be an extraterrestrial satellite, the Black Knight. When they call it space debris, what they mean is just a space blanket. It's a blanket that was confirmed to have been lost on the mission previous to when that photo was taken. So there's evidence to be shown that that's possibly the blanket. So this is the history. And then that's it. It literally is all this stuff. According to some UFO conspiracy theorists, the Black Knight is an artificial satellite of extraterrestrial origin which has orbited the Earth for approximately 13,000 years. The satellite story is most likely a conflation of several disconnected stories about various objects and their interpretations, all of them well documented independently and none using the term Black Knight upon the first publication. According to Senior Education Support Officer Martina Reederpath of the Armara Planetarium in Northern Ireland, quote, Black Knight is a jumble of completely unrelated stories, reports of unusual science observations, authors promoting fringe ideas, classified spy satellites, and people over-interpreting photos. These ingredients have been chopped up, stirred together, and stewed on the internet to one rambling and inconsistent dollop of myth, end quote. The origin of Black Knight legend is often retrospectively dated back to natural extraterrestrial repeating sources, supposedly heard during the 1899 radio experiments of Nikola Tesla, and long-delayed echoes first heard by amateur radio operator Jørgen Hulls in Oslo, Norway in 1928. Brian Dunning of the Skeptopoid podcast attributes Tesla's 1899 radio signals to pulsars which were not identified until 1968. So hearing that kind of stuff, so the first evidence of it was back when Nikola Tesla apparently heard four numbers, 1, 2, 3 and 4. And he highly speculated that he thought it could possibly be a message from another planet or another species, as he felt that numbers were a universal way of communication. I'll be honest, I don't like this piece of evidence. I think it's a bunch of hodgepodge. As amazing as Nikola Tesla was as a person, incredible, the things he discovered and the things he did to help our species move along, I don't think he heard alien terrestrial at all. I think it was exactly what it's described as, which is a pulse from echoes and stuff that are just left out there from other broadcasters and things. I would say inconclusive to this piece of evidence, mainly because you can't disprove it, but you can't prove it either. It's sort of up in the air.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. I think we were talking about like radio signals from space the other weekend. I was like, this could link in with that.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But I think. I don't think that can't be conclusive, because obviously they hear these radio signals all the time. Like it could be coming from a millions of different sources.
Yeah, exactly. And they weren't identified until 1968. Nearly 70 years after Nikola Tesla
Yeah.
actually heard them. So, and at that point they were identified. So, I don't
Yeah.
know.
I don't have much trust in science back then.
Yeah, it's very hit or miss. Right, here's the next bit. In 1954, UFO researcher Donald Keyhole told newspapers that the United States
great
Air
name.
Force... Yeah, brilliant. Newspapers that the United States Air Force had reported that 2 satellites orbiting Earth had been detected. At the time, no country had the technology to launch a satellite. Skeptics have noted that the Keyhole had been promoting a UFO book at the time, and the news stories were likely written tongue-in-cheek and not intended to be taken seriously. So
we had a bit of bias there, trying to promote something.
Exactly. Yeah, no, this is another piece of there's 3 really strong pieces of evidence that come with this. This is the second one. The first one was obviously the Nikola Tesla thing. I think this can completely be debunked. He had a complete bias in trying to push the narrative that it was a UFO, considering he had a book coming out based on them. So I absolutely
coincidence.
I absolutely think his testimony can be thrown out of the window, because it's just, he's obviously pushing a narrative. He wants to sell this book as well that was coming out. I believe, it doesn't actually say here, but I believe it was about 2 or 3 months before his book was to be released as well. So it's fairly new stuff.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It'd be unfortunate if he isn't lying about stuff like that, because people say, "Oh, well, you had a book coming out." I think it's a bit too much. Swinging in one way there.
Yeah. But there is one more substantial piece of evidence that we will get into, obviously, but we'll see. The next part is a British rocket called the Black Knight rocket was used in conjunction with the Blue Streak missile program between 1958 and 1965 to test re-entry vehicles. A Black Knight satellite launcher project announced in 1964 was considered a priority by the Ministry of Aviation. The program never put anything into orbit, however, and is unrelated to the Black Knight satellite legend. So literally just the name. That is all that kind of has linking to this.
Kind of a loose.
Yeah, exactly. In February 1960, Time reported that the US Navy had detected a dark object thought to be a Soviet spy satellite in orbit. This is what they believe to be the Black Knight. A follow-up article confirmed that the object was the remains of an Air Force Discoverer, I think it was Discoverer 8 satellite that had gone astray, which was part of the Corona program, which was a series of American strategic renaissance satellites produced and orbited by the Central Intelligence Agency and Directorate of Science and Technology, with substantial assistance from the US Air Force. Basically, they used these Corona spy satellites and planes to take pictures of the Soviet Union, which was very successful. It was the first time they'd ever done it, and they actually have the pictures as well that were taken by these satellites. That's the third piece of substantial evidence that they tried to say, oh, that was just a big cover-up. So essentially what people who believe in the Black Knight satellite believe is that this was the Corona program was a complete program that was completely falsified to completely push out the idea of an extraterrestrial kind of, satellite in orbit. They don't believe that the Corona program was a real thing, even though there is a stack of evidence and proof to it. It obviously does contradict the last piece of evidence, which was that there was nothing ever put into orbit between 1958 and 1965, considering this came out in 1960. However, apparently, according to the American government and everything as well, this was confirmed to be a satellite that was actually photographed. And obviously, having the pictures of the Soviet Union as well, like the actual bases and stuff that were taken from in orbit, they've just gone, well, there's your evidence. It wasn't an extraterrestrial satellite, it's that. And even NASA came out to confirm that it was just that Corona satellite. So I don't know what kind of your take is on that.
Well, around about that time, it's obviously when space was all sending people to space was all quite new, and I believe it was like 68 or something that the first man walked on the moon. But obviously the Russians managed to send people to space not long before that in satellites. So
it's very sort of a race for space.
Yeah, space race. So it's all kind of a bit new and a bit up in the air. Like, oh, if we can send someone up there, what else is up there? I think people were kind of looking for stuff that maybe isn't there.
I
But
definitely
it's an interesting one.
I would definitely say with that one, with the stack of, if there wasn't so much evidence against this sort of part of the evidence, I would definitely say it could be classed as inconclusive. But for me, it's a completely conclusive answer. Like, there's plenty of evidence to suggest that the things they're suggesting now were done by a program which was successful. It worked. That's one reason why they found out so much information about the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
So for me, by this point, what's your kind of opinion on the Black Knight satellite? Do you still think it could be a possibility, or are you seeing too much evidence against it? What's your kind of take? So, there's still a bit more, but
well, with this one, with the Black Knight, I think that maybe that's a bit too up in the air at the moment. I don't think people are kind of making a narrative of that one, I think.
Yeah.
But having said that, it'd be interesting to know what NASA isn't telling us, because obviously they're in a position where they know more about things outside of this universe, in space. Maybe they found something, but it's all inconclusive right now, isn't it? So
okay. Here's the next bit. There's three more to read through. This is quite an interesting one. This they're only small, but this one is quite an interesting one. In 1633, astronaut Gordon Cooper supposedly reported a UFO sighting during his 15th orbit in Mercury 9 that was confirmed by tracking stations. But there is no evidence that this happened. Neither NASA's mission transcripts nor Cooper's personal copies show any report being made during the orbit. So when he came back down, he claimed to have seen it, but didn't report it while up in the air.
I think the anti-gravity went to his head.
Do you think he maybe imagined it when he came back down and went, oh, I should have mentioned it? But the interesting part I find about this was that it was confirmed by tracking stations, but there was no evidence that it happened. So he never pointed it out, but there was a confirmation that something was orbiting them at the time.
Right. You would have thought he'd have emphasised that in his personal logs and stuff.
Yeah,
but
especially if he's up there, you'd think he would have brought that up.
Yeah, they've got to send loads of information back down, because obviously they can't send everyone up to space. They've got to rely on these people to send them information.
I think if he definitely forgot, that's definitely definitely a bad astronaut. He forgot shit.
Oh yeah, by the way, I saw
I saw a UFO up there. I thought I'd mention it now. Why didn't you mention it earlier? Oh, I didn't think of it. I didn't think it was important. Yeah. Okay, right. Next one. In 1973, Scottish author Duncan Luna analysed the long-delayed radio echoes received by Hales and others that speculated they could possibly originate from a 13,000-year-old alien probe located in orbit around the Earth's moon. He suggested that the probe may have originated from a planet located in the solar system of star Epsilon Bootis. Not Bootis. Luna later redacted his conclusion, saying that he had made, quote, outright errors, end quote, and that his methods had been, quote, unscientific, end quote. Now, for me, this is the most probable piece of evidence. The fact that he had spent a little bit of time, going through these different echoes and things, made a statement saying that he felt they were something that could have been something from about 13,000 years ago and could be classed as alien probe technology, but then went back on it later on and retracted it, saying they were outright errors and he was completely unscientific in his reasonings. I guess the question that comes down to is, do you think that he got excited by seeing this stuff and maybe kind of pushed to his mind to kind of just fill in the gaps himself? Or do you think he was forced to point out that this was fake, that maybe NASA and the government came to him and went, get rid of your shit or we'll get rid of you? That kind of, it's like that thing of like the Men in Black kind of myth, that they visit people who have seen them and force them. Yeah. Do you think there could possibly be a cover-up from NASA and the government, or do you think that he maybe filled in the blanks himself?
I don't know if it's just him and there's no one else kind of saying it. It's kind of a bit like I'm leaning towards it being him, who's, the science changes all the time, and maybe he's seen the error of his ways, and maybe everyone wants to be the first to discover a UFO.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'm not sure about that. I think he maybe got too excited.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most promising thing. But another thing you got to remember is he was only an author who'd just been looking into these long delayed radios. He was never an actual scientist or anything. He was just an author. So
That's like saying a journalist is a doctor.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. And the last one, space debris photographed in 1998 during the STS-88 mission has been widely claimed to be the Black Knight satellite, the one that I sent to you.
Yeah.
The space journalist James Oberg considers it probable that the photographs are a thermal blanket that was confirmed as lost during an EVA by Jerry L. Ross and James H. Newman, the two astronauts that actually lost one of their thermal blankets while on one of these expeditions.
Okay.
Now, I'll be honest, when I first read that, I thought it was horse twat. I didn't believe it for a single second. But after looking at it extensively over and over and over, like trying to work out what it is, if you look really carefully, in my opinion, and I'm not trying to lead you, obviously, have your own opinion, but it does look like a folded blanket.
Yeah.
at least from halfway down. I think the top half, that kind of point part, is very difficult to tell. But about halfway down, I definitely think it just looks like a folded blanket.
It's kind of strange because we have a perception of what we think a spaceship will look like, and it's probably something like that picture.
Yeah, exactly.
But
I mean, apparently they just think it's a probe. So I mean, a probe can be anything. The probes we sent up have been cylindrical. They've been Sophias. They've been spheres.
Yeah.
They've been flat. They've been 3D. Like we've sent a lot of stuff up there. And I don't know, about that photo and everything, but after hearing the evidence that you've heard, which is certainly by means not all of it, there's been
No.
I mean, the most recent article that came out about it was in 2016, but it was kind of just from what I read, it was just a lot of speculation and kind of going back over the evidence. But from hearing what you've heard off the wiki page, kind of the evidence that I had gathered previous to all this stuff as well, to kind of update those pieces as well, so you had a bit more to go off. What's kind of your view on this conspiracy theory of the Black Knight satellite?
The whole conspiracy theory in general.
Yeah.
I believe it. As I said at the start, I'd love to think it was true.
Yeah.
And NASA probably knows more than they let on about certain things. And there's probably whole divisions that focus on these unidentified things, and they're probably theorizing about it all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I don't know. Don't want to put too much merit in the Black Knight satellite.
I'll be honest. I don't believe it. Not for a second. I think if there was more evidence that was more solid and more conclusive, absolutely.
But see, I give a fence-sitting answer.
Yeah, I think for me, I love conspiracy theory. I am a nutcase from, as we saw last week when we were talking about the Black Hawk helicopters.
Yeah.
But for me, there's too much evidence against it being a real thing, but it just being an accident that happened.
The evidence is really weak.
Yeah, it's a lot of evidence, but it's weak. You can't just take a lot of weak evidence, smash it together, and go, it's all strong now. That's not how it works. There's a lot of conspiracy theories where you do have to kind of take that jump in logic and kind of hope, but I think with something like this, I think there would just be more evidence to it being there. Whether it could be a cover-up from the government and NASA, maybe, that they did find something different up there and they kind of, tried to find a way to kind of manipulate it to make it more realistic. I don't think that's too far-fetched to say. I mean, the government have covered stuff up before and then released documents of cover-ups and things, so...
Yeah.
But whether it's an extraterrestrial thing, I don't think that's the case at all. Maybe a piece of technology. But I find it very difficult to believe that this, especially with the evidence so weak and circumstantial and broken apart, it's like pieces from everywhere. Like,
it needs more evidence. It's very much a cold case.
Definitely, yeah. I would definitely say I wouldn't say it's outright completely crap, but I would definitely say it's got more reality grounding it than something like an extraterrestrial probe or something. So
yeah.
Thank you, Robin, but unfortunately I don't believe this one, and she's kind of on the fence. But definitely an interesting one. I would highly recommend people go and watch documentaries and stuff on it, because it is fascinating. But it's
we'd like to hear everyone else's thoughts about it. Like, it's not just about us.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, definitely.
If you're a firm believer, let us know.
Yeah, if there's any evidence that because I don't obviously spend days looking at this stuff. I spend like maybe 3 to 4 hours at most on these conspiracy theories, looking through evidence and kind of watching videos and stuff. So I miss stuff. So if I've missed something, let us know. Chime off in those comments.
And I spend 0 hours because James likes to surprise me with these things.
Yeah. Maybe Sean will do one day. Who knows? I'm sure you've got a few conspiracy theories you like, Sean. Come on. Yeah, so let us know down in the comments what you guys thought of that conspiracy theory. Let us know if there's anything you want us to talk about or discuss. Hopefully you guys will be watching this today at 3 p.m. on the Sunday.
It is Sunday today, right?
Yes, it's Sunday. This was not filmed yesterday.
Okay.
So, yeah, but hopefully you guys enjoyed it. It is a bit shorter. I think the consensus is these on-demand ones are going to be shorter.
Yeah.
I think they're harder to kind of make longer because we can't interact with you guys as well. It's more difficult to do that. So, and I think being shorter and snappier, especially when we're doing these on demand, is going to keep us on track. And
So obviously, it's just the two of us kind of bouncing off each other rather than bouncing off the comments and people chiming up with their opinions.
It's just a case of we normally have the same ideas of what to talk about as well.
We're not used to this, there.
Yeah.
So I think it's been successful there. So
yeah, definitely shorter. But I don't know. I kind of like the shorter format for on demand. I think it's harder to do a longer show on demand. It's still an hour, so I mean, it's not bad. I know Sean has got plans today as well, so I won't keep him any longer. But definitely let us know what your thoughts are on the conspiracy theory and the lockdown news as well. Don't forget about that. Let us know in the comments if there's anything you want us to talk about next time. And as always, thank you to Sean for this beautiful place here, right here, where I'm pointing now is where Sean's face is. It's beautiful. This beautiful face for joining me for the on-demand thing. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We wanted to keep it going, even if it wasn't live. So there you have it.
Yes.
Thank you again, Robin, for the suggestion. And definitely, if you've got any more, let us know. I find it absolutely fascinating looking at all this stuff. So, thank you again. We love you very much, and
it's been a pleasure.
We will see you very soon. So, bye, guys.
Bye bye. Live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper.